Imagine that there are people living in a cave, deep underground. The cave has a mouth that opens to the light above, and a passage exists from this all the way down to the people. They have lived there as captives from infancy, with their legs and necks bound in chains. They cannot move. All they can do is stare directly forward, as the chains stop them from turning their heads around. Imagine that far above and behind them blazes a great fire. Behind this fire and the captives, a low wall is erected along a path, something like puppeteers use to hide themselves during their shows. Look and you will also see other people carrying objects back and forth along the wall. Things of every kind, statues and other carvings made of stone or wood, and many other artifacts that people have made. Some of these other people speak, while others remain silent. It's a bizarre situation and a bizarre group of captives. From the beginning, the captives have never managed, whether on their own or with the help of others, to see anything besides the shadows that are continually projected on the wall in front of them by the glow of the fire. Now, if they could speak, would you say that these captives would imagine that the names they give to the things they were able to see applied to real things? It would have to be so. And if a sound reverberated through their cave from one of the other people passing behind the wall, do you suppose that the captives would think anything but the passing shadow was what really made the sound? I guess not. Then undoubtedly such captives would consider the truth to be nothing but the shadows of the moving objects and their sounds. Now look again and think about what would happen if they were released from these chains and these misconceptions. Imagine one of them is set free from his shackles and immediately made to stand up and turn his head around, to take steps, to gaze up toward the fire. And all of this was painful, and the glare from the light made him unable to see the objects that cast the shadows. What do you think his reaction would be if someone informed him that everything he had formerly known was illusion and delusion, but that now he was a few steps closer to reality, oriented now toward things that were more authentic, and he was able to see more truly? Now let's say that he's forcibly dragged up the steep climb out of the cave and started climbing until finally he stands in the light in front of the sun. Under that light, wouldn't his eyes be nearly blinded, unable to discern any of those things that we ourselves call real? It would take time, I suppose, for him to get used to seeing reality as it is. In the beginning, he might only trace the shadows of the outside world, then reflections of people and other things in the water. Next, he would come to see the actual form of things themselves. Then he would behold the celestial objects and the sky itself, especially by night, seeing the light of the stars and the moon with greater ease than the sun and its light by day. And at some point, I think, he would at last be able to gaze upon the sun itself, neither as reflected in water, nor as a shadow in some other place, but in its own place, as it really is. And now he will begin to reason. He will find that the sun is the source for the seasons and the years, and governor of every visible thing, and is ultimately the origin of everything previously known, so to speak. In that case, shouldn't he remember his fellow prisoners and their original dwelling and what was accepted as wisdom in that setting? Don't you imagine he would consider himself fortunate for this transformation and feel pity for the captives? If such a man would go back to his original place inside the cave, wouldn't his eyes be filled with darkness coming back from the sun? Wouldn't his eyes still be adjusting to the darkness, and it may take a while before they can see the shadows again? Wouldn't he become a laughing stock for the other captives? Wouldn't they say, "You have returned from your adventure up there with ruined eyes"? Would they not say that the ascent was a waste of time? And if he attempted to free them and push them to escape the cave, don't you think that they might even try to kill him for this? This allegory attempts to compare the visible world to the underground cave, and the captive's ascent to be the ascent of the soul to the intellectual world. Regardless, it appears to me that in the world of knowledge, the idea of good appears last of all, and it is perceived with great difficulty. But when it is seen, it leads us directly to the finding of the universal cause of all that is right and beautiful. It is the source of visible light, and in the intellectual world, it is the master of truth and reason. And whoever in private or in public would behave in a sensible way will have his eyes fixed on this idea. We should not be surprised that individuals who have reached this level of understanding might be unwilling to spend their time on mundane affairs, for their souls would always feel a calling for the higher things. The ability and means of learning is already present in the soul. As the eye could not turn from darkness to light unless the whole body moved, so it is that the mind can only turn around from the world of becoming to that of being by a movement of the whole soul. The soul must learn, degree by degree, by slowly turning towards the light, to endure the contemplation of being and of the brightest and the best of being, or, in other words, of what we consider as the greater good. Hey guys, so hope you enjoyed this visual representation of the allegory of the cave, which is a short story that can be found in the book Republic by Plato. This is an abridged version of a translation I found online. I tried to change it a bit so that it has a better flow, because the original text, even in Greek, sometimes sounds weird, but that's normal because in every epoch, people speak in different ways. So for me, the allegory of the cave is an incredible philosophical text because of the symbolisms that illuminate so many powerful ideas. Obviously, the text can be interpreted in many ways, but I will offer the overarching idea. The prisoners represent all of us, all individuals who are trapped in a kind of prosaic, simplistic, and just sensory interpretation of the world. The puppeteers could represent all these people or institutions that attempt to impose certain narratives upon us. The chains allude to all those things that keep us shackled in a very limited intellectual and perceptual understanding of the world around us. The cave obviously is this limited world that keeps us trapped, and the shadows are the only things we perceive as real because of all the limitations that we have. So, at some point, one prisoner somehow escapes the cave and gains access to the outer world, which symbolizes the absolute truth, so to speak, which is kind of abstract, but in short, one can define this truth as the truth disengaged from illusions, delusions, propaganda, lies, and different absurdities. Plato makes three important points in this allegory with regards to the truth. Number one, that it takes time to get accustomed to the truth and eventually re-engineer one's perception in order to understand it and accept it. Number two, that once one sees the truth and accepts it, one can never go back to their former state. And number three, that the truth can be perceived as something dangerous by some people, because often the truth hurts so much that people will feel that it's not worth risking what they have for something so precarious. Undoubtedly, this is an incredible text that echoes many visceral ideas that have troubled us throughout the history of mankind. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, get notifications, and leave a comment. And please, if you feel like support the channel, your support means the world to me, and I try to upload really high quality videos that are very difficult to find elsewhere on YouTube. There are many ways to do so. Please check all the available options in the description below. Again, thanks for watching. See you soon. Adrian out.